Number 10. Hide a knife behind a smile. Charm and ingratiate yourself with your enemy, and then, when you have gained his trust, move against him in secret. Sun Tzu's most often quoted advice was to keep your friends close and your enemies closer. But here the stratagem is far more duplicitous, in that it advises that the sole purpose of keeping your enemy close is not just to understand them and be prepared for any aggression from them, but is to deceive them with a treasonable act that would see their downfall. Hide behind a knife with a smile. So I was having a conversation with a guy the other day, and the question is, if you've run something up the chain of command to the absolute top, you can't bring it up anymore. Mm-hmm. And actually, this was a person in the fire services. Mm-hmm. If you've brought something, so fire departments, if you've brought something up the chain of command to the absolute top, and you still haven't gotten what you wanted, what would you do then? They were asking me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, there's a lot of things you could do then in that situation. You know, you've gone, like, because the topic was basically if training should be harder, right? Mm-hmm. If people aren't training harder, and I'm bringing up the chain of command, and people say, no, it's fine, no, it's fine, no, it's fine, and you believe that this is wrong, and people should be training hard so we're more prepared to do our job, what would you do then, Jocko? And I was like, well, you could, you know what you could do? You could say, okay, you know what? You don't want to listen to me? Fine, I'm going public. I'm going to write an article in the newspaper about how our department is not prepared to handle emergencies. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Okay.
And then they're going to listen. Now, let's think about that. Let's think about that outcome, right? Mm-hmm. The outcome is there's a decent chance you get fired.
Yeah.
You definitely aren't getting promoted. Mm-hmm. And so whether you get fired or you don't get promoted, you get stuck in this position where you have no influence. And by the way, did you get any training change? No. Now, is there a possibility that the public takes note and goes, oh wow, this is wrong, and we're gonna have another election, and we're gonna replace this fire chief or whatever? Is there a chance that could happen? There's a chance. How'd that fire chief end up in that position? He's a political guy. He knows how to make things happen. He knows how to take care of himself. And if you think he's gonna let some little article out in a newspaper get him deposed from his position, you're wrong. Yeah. You're underestimating your enemy at this point. Yeah. So don't do that. So I said, what if instead of doing that, you wrote, let's say, same idea, you wrote a positive article about the fire department, and it made everyone look good, and the chief looked at you like you were spreading the good word, and he says, oh, you know what, I appreciate you putting out that article. That was really good. It made us look good. He might not say that part, but he's like, I liked your article. Yeah. Well, you know, chief, I just want to let people know what we're doing over here. And now you're building trust. Mm-hmm. Now you're building trust with him. And now he says, oh, you know what? Yeah, you know what? You should run this thing over here. Why don't you run that little thing? And you take that thing and you run it. And you keep it in the box that you know he would like it in. Yeah. And then he goes, hey, you know, you did a good job with that. I'm going to get you up a little bit higher. Yeah. And eventually you get to a position of influence where you actually can make the change that you want to make. Now, again, the thing is, when I say things like this, people are always, they don't want to hear it. Like when someone, they think they know me and they're like, oh, you know what? And I was saying this the other day at a different company, that everybody wants me to say, you know what you got to do in a situation like that? You come in with a battle axe and you start swinging and you take out everyone that's in your way. That's how you win. Yeah. And I wish that was true, but it's actually not true. It's not true. You don't win. You don't win when you do that.
Yeah.
You have to think. You have to play the game. What you have to do is hide a knife behind a smile. Now, that's very treasonous, he calls it. But if your goal, let's take the fire department, if your goal is to actually do a better job and save more people's lives because you've trained more, and that's the knife that you're trying to get out in the end, is that a bad thing? No, it's actually a good thing. You're not hiding a knife behind a smile. You're hiding saved lives behind a smile. Yeah. That's what you're doing. This takes tactical patience.
Yeah.
Tactical patience. That's a word people used to throw around because they thought it sounded cool.
It
right?
does.
It does sound cool, right?
Yeah.
It's a real thing, though. And if you don't have tactical patience to win the long war, it's a long war. Years. It can take years. This situation, talking to this fire guy the other day, that situation could take years to unfold. years. But and we've talked about, if you just make a stink and cause problems and run your mouth and cause all this focus and bring the spotlight to the bad areas, guess what? You're not going to get moved up and put in a better position.
Yeah.
So don't do that.
Yeah. So crazy. That's like a lot of times the advice you give is literally the exact opposite of what it feels like we should do. It's like you feel like, hey, I need to do this. I just need to know how. Can you tell me how? And you don't tell how. You say, hey, wait, you need to do this. No, you don't need to do that. You need to do the exact opposite of that. You're like, oh, man.
It's not what you think you're supposed to do.
You jam me up. But I will say, through experience, that your answers tend to be right 100% of the time.
Yeah, people, a lot of times you don't want to hear them. And when I was younger, I didn't want to hear them either.
Yes, that part is true.
Yeah.
For sure.
When I was younger, I was like, oh, screw that guy.
Yeah, what am I going to do? Cultivate a relationship with this guy?
Yeah,
no
he's weak.
Way. No, yeah,
he's unsat. You know, there's a military term, unsat.
Yeah.
And that used to be as bad as, that was the worst adjective I could use.
Yeah.
I'd be like, that guy's unsat. Or, whatever, a piece of gear. People be like, oh, how's that gear? Unsat.
Yeah.
Because you'd get marked like on an inspection, unsat, which meant unsatisfactory.
Right.
I need to bring that back.
Yeah. Man, it's been a while. But yeah, German cake nuts used to always say that.
Sat or unsat. Because you could have sat too. You'd be like, that was, if you were to say to me like, oh, how was that dinner last night? Sat. Meaning it was it was good. It was
they
fine.
Never said that. They never said sat. They always said unsat.
You have to put sat and unsat kind of together for sat to make any sense whatsoever.
Naturally.
Check.